What's happening, my Jack family? Coach Scott here. JackedAfter40.com and ShreddedAfter40.com. Welcome to another episode of the Jacked After 40 podcast. I've got an incredible episode to share with you today. Going to be joined by one of my coaching clients, Mario. He's 53 years young and in absolutely incredible shape. You guys are going to be blown away by this. We're going to discuss just the transformation that he's gone through during the past 13 months working with me, getting shredded, building muscle during a time with limited equipment. This is 13 months. We've been training during the entire pandemic here, and it has not slowed him down one bit. So he's going to be sharing a lot of his experiences with us here. Going to be sharing some of the mobility that he's been incorporating into his training, some of the cardio that he's been doing, just simple ways to include quick little bouts that suit into his overall active lifestyle. He is a busy professional, so just going to be sharing some insights into how he's been able to incorporate all of this into his life while still having a life in the process. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you do, please do us a favor and smash that thumbs up button. We'd really appreciate it. And we'd love to hear from you down in the comment section below. Let me know how inspired you are after seeing Mario in action and hearing his story here. Enjoy the episode. All right, Mario, so let's give everyone a little bit of background on you and our journey together so far here. We've been working together for about 13 months at this time. We started around beginning of May 2020, right kind of in the thick of this whole pandemic here when gyms were locked down and scrambling for equipment. You are 53 years young. You're just under 5'8" tall.
That's right.
So a little taller than me and weighing in close to me as well, a little bit heavier. You're right around 155 right now. We started our journey together. You were close to 170 pounds and you cut for, I think it was just over 7 months time where you dropped 23 pounds. So from May till like mid-December, you dropped about 23 pounds, got down to about 146, 147 pounds was your leanest there. Kind of hovered there for a couple of weeks, and then I think you sent me a photo, and you had like ab veins crawling up your side. They're like, we're debating like how much further do we want to push this? I'm like, well, I saw that picture. I'm like, dude, you're done. Like you are crazy peeled. So that was like kind of mid to towards the end of December there, after about 7.5 months of cutting, and it was consistent progress. I'm going to show a graph here of what your progress has been like over the past 13 months here. So good, slow and steady, consistent progress, like 23 pounds. Okay.
Morning, Chief.
Morning, Chief. Exactly. He's been hilarious the past couple of podcasts. But yeah, so like 23 pounds over 7.5 months that's a good slow and steady progress there. And then since that point, so for the past 6 months, we've been slowly bumping up your calories, and you're up, I'd say, about 8 pounds in that time. Again, there's going to be a lot of it's going to be food volume in there, and again, replenishing your system with the muscle glycogen and all that good stuff. So that's just to me, it's almost like picture perfect progress. The slow, steady progress with fat loss, slow, steady weight gain here during muscle building. To me, it's been a coach's dream to see how you've really stuck to the plan throughout this entire process. So, and it's not like this is like a lot of people look at myself. This is my career. This is my business. I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. You're a very busy professional. So let's give a little bit of background on like your lifestyle, what you're all about, and what this kind of past year has been like for you.
Sure, Scott. And first of all, I'm happy and humbled to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share some of the journey with other people. I think it can be really helpful for them. I think we're all sort of going through some similar things. And so I live in Bangkok, Thailand, where I've lived for the last 12 years or so, and I've been living in and out of Asia for the last 20 years or so. So I'm really familiar with this region, and I'm a lawyer and work for a big company and work with a big team. And so there's a lot of responsibility, as you mentioned, and it's a demanding profession, but you have to make time for what's important. And frankly, nothing is more important than wellness and health, and the physique goals fit very well within that context, because muscle is sort of the ultimate longevity organ, and that's your specialty. For me, the process has been simple because of your coaching. Simple, but not easy. You've made it as simple as you can make it. The plan has been incredible, and you talk about sculpting a masterpiece, but you in my mind, you're the sculptor, and I'm devoting the sweat equity to the process, and that has been a weight off of my mind. I think Aaron expressed it in similar terms. I follow the plan, and over time, I've come to appreciate just how much thought goes into the plan, how much thought goes into the training, how much thought goes into the nutrition. As I have come out of this cut, I've really marveled at sort of the way that you've calibrated my calories and allowed me to, sort of gently start putting on that weight without adding a lot of, extra fat and still retaining some aesthetics and some vascularity. So it's worked out really, really well for me, and I very much appreciate everything that you've done. I have worked with coaches over the years and some online coaches, and this experience for me has been really different. Your philosophy, I resonate a great deal with it. You believe in consistency and intensity, but you're not trying to destroy us, and you want it to be a pleasant experience, even though when you go into that gym, you're going to go through an ordeal, a little ordeal. Every time you go in, you're going to leave a piece of your soul there on the gym floor if you're doing it right. But at the same time, you leave room for us as your trainees to back off when appropriate. You're not trying to tell us to go in there and just take it to volume level 11 every time if it's not appropriate. The other thing I like about your approach is you're very much into the idea of making the most of the cards you're dealt, whether that means sort of on a macro level in terms of, hey, I'm never gonna be 6'4", 200 pounds, whatever, but you're going to make the most of your genetics, your aesthetics, and everything that you have, your gifts. And likewise, on every day that you go into the gym, you're going to make the most of the cards you're dealt, because you're not always going to have the right equipment, as you mentioned. You're not always going to feel at your best. Your sleep may not be exactly where you want it. And so, in my experience, as you mentioned, when I started this process with you, it was a great lesson for me because I was outside the country in a small condo. I had a bench, I had some adjustable dumbbells, and I had some resistance bands. And that's how I was able to achieve probably 75 to 80% or more of the progress that we made during that time with such a basic setup. And it was really eye-opening for me. If you just get rid of the idea that you need every fancy piece of equipment and all the frills, and if you devote yourself, you can actually achieve some things. Now, it's been wonderful to have periodic access to the large Virgin gym that we have down the street here. Different kinds of resistance are great, and so on. But and here in my home during this partial lockdown, I have a pretty serviceable home gym set up with weights and cardio, and that's been great. But the point is, you really just need minimal equipment to get this done. And that's what I try to stress to people. It's not about having every piece of equipment and getting distracted with all the shiny machines and so on. They're great, they have their place, but you can achieve a lot with very little.
100%, no doubt about it, dude. I think I appreciate everything you shared and said there, and it just, like, to me, I am very proud of like the systems I build, the workout plans that I piece together for clients, but um, they're just, it's just words on paper. What matters most is the sweat equity that clients like yourself, like Aaron, put into the training, and just working it to its fullest, and listening to your bodies and open communication. I think that's what really works incredibly well with the coaching client relationship there. You're great at it. Aaron's great at it. You're great at expressing if you're struggling, what's feeling good, what you're reading, what you're learning. Like, you're someone who is on top of the game. You've been at this for a while. And like you said, you've gone through many different coaches, many different online programs, and you're a student of this game. And yeah, it's just fun to see you. It's you. It's you achieving this goal. I've got the plan, but
Yeah.
you are putting in the work. So that is absolutely awesome. Um, what has been, Chief? You're unreal right now, buddy. Come here. Come say hi. Come here. Um, so what I want to know is what was your big reason why in the beginning there? Like 170 pounds, you look pretty good. Like you're decent at that stage, average. I think a lot of people would look at your before pictures and go, man, I wish I looked at that. What was your driving force to push it further and to get yourself lean again?
Yeah, I think this gets into a little bit of the mental dimension of it because the physical part, if you're going to actually force your body to transform into a different shape, it requires, a lot of consistency and exertion, and it's really a brute force deal. I mean, and it's a journey and it's a game of ounces, and it's not overnight. You're putting a couple of pennies in the bank every workout. You don't go into the workout and accomplish everything in one day. And so for me, uh, the mental part is actually probably the toughest part because you're filled with doubts. Your ego is trying to protect itself from humiliation, and it's feeding you, supplying you with messages like, who do you think you are? You're not that guy. You're not that gal. You're not going to be able to go in and achieve these goals. Why are you weighing and measuring your food? This is insane. Why are you sacrificing? You're hungry. Eat. All these messages to try to get yourself in a certain mindset when in fact you're trying to do something healthy for yourself and reset your appetite and create healthy habits and eat at the right times. And so again, the mental challenge is really intense. But my why was sort of able to overcome all of those doubts, and it's a daily thing you have to go through as you do that. Every day. The training is tough, but manageable. And the nutrition is a little bit like a puzzle every day, in terms of what you're eating, when you're eating, your macros, and so on. It's not that complicated, though. It becomes second nature in a very short time. It's what people think it's some kind of, arcane science where it's, wow, how could I possibly ever do these things that are required? But it's definitely possible. And again, you don't even think about it after a short time.
Right.
But as far as the why, I would say, it's fundamentally related to uh, health and wellness. And it did actually, there's a vanity component, of course, which you've mentioned, which is a big driver. LGN, as Mark Sisson calls it, look good naked.
Yes.
But but after a while, you really become humbled by the process, and it becomes like a practice, almost like, I don't know, it's like almost like meditation or something. You don't see great meditators going around bragging about, their meditative abilities. And likewise, I mean, after a while, the vanity and the aesthetic part started to take a bit of a back seat, really, to all the benefits I was getting from the process. And it was building character, and it was starting to, reflect itself in other parts of my life. And your body becomes, other than being a walking billboard for your methods, your body becomes a manifestation of the idea that anything is possible because you were able to go through this journey and make a significant change in the functionality and your physique and so on. And so for me, all of this ties together in terms of wellness and health. And again, as I mentioned, I think muscle is super important, especially as people get older, and it's the primary determinant of whether you're going to be a functional person as you get older. A lot of people say, well, hey, people are living longer than ever now, so why are you so concerned about these things? This is a neurotic obsession or whatever. And I say, well, no, actually, that trend is reversing. People are not living longer anymore, even though they are living quite a bit longer because of science in general. But I've heard somebody say they're not actually living longer; they're dying longer. And
Ah,
I
wow.
I really don't want to spend the last quarter of my life incapacitated. And so I try to and I try to tell people that. And I think Ben Franklin said that A good example is the best sermon. And in my own modest way, I try to provide that for people. I know that I have a long journey ahead in terms of my general athleticism. I'd like to improve. I have certain areas, VO2 max and other things. My squat needs some work and so on. But the trajectory is great, and that's very inspiring for me. And so I think that is my sort of broad why. It's the sport of longevity, the sport of functionality, and all of those things. Yeah.
That's outstanding, man. I absolutely love that. So let's talk about some of the lessons that you've learned this past year, especially through your training. Like we talked about, you've gone through different programs in the past, different methodologies. What have been some of the bigger lessons that you have learned through this past year of training?
Well, one that you talk about a lot is around, bulking and cutting and honestly sort of putting on and taking off the same 20 pounds over and over in the hope of some incremental benefit. And I've been on that train before, and with similar sort of average kind of results, where it just hasn't been sustainable for me. It hasn't been something that I've enjoyed, and I've really come around to your method of basically cutting down to an appropriate weight, and then slowly building back up, and then maybe engaging in a couple of smaller cuts over time. We haven't gotten into the smaller cut part of the process, but it's interesting to come out of this cut and then not not be so worried about, okay, I'm putting on some more weight, and I'm all my effort is now going to be is going to vanish because I'm adding calories. It really hasn't concerned me, because I have confidence that you could help me to structure new nutritional parameters that would allow me to return back to a state of leanness and so on. And honestly, I'm not even that concerned about bouncing around in this weight range, because it's acceptable. And
Right.
as you said, you don't have to look like you're aspiring to the stage every moment of the year. It's just reasonable kind of band, and your sweet spot, as you've called it. And I think it's fine for me. I'd say the other thing that I've learned is, in general around nutrition, I had my own ideas that I brought to this, and I had some very strongly held preconceptions around intermittent fasting and certain other things. But you can't learn what you think you know. And that's Epictetus said this. And I came into this saying, okay, I'm going to take a leap of faith and accept some of these different ideas that Scott is bringing to me around meal frequency. For example, I now eat far more frequently than I used to, and around training techniques as well. I used to do a lot of reverse pyramid training, which was just frankly not that effective for me, and it just stressed me out. When I would go to the gym, I would feel like it was like a life or death thing, whether I was going to be able to hit that the goal. And just I felt like it was just sort of too much cortisol or something going on with that type of training. And there's a place for it, and I'm sure that at some point we might incorporate it. But to make it the mainstay of a program for a guy in my age range and so on, just clearly was suboptimal compared to what you're doing, which is different rep ranges. And then I really love the way you set up the workout so that the earlier types of exercises are great warm-ups for what comes next, and you kind of get your body well lubricated with fluid and blood. And so it's been really beneficial, just the sequence that you that you set forth in every workout. And again, that's one of the things I admire, is just how well thought out everything is.
Chief just is.
Chief
this
has,
is a podcast.
He's got other priorities.
Yeah, he doesn't like that he's not the star of the show right now, which is something else. Everybody come here. Be a good boy. Be Yeah, good boy. There's so much good there. And that's the beauty of it is, like as a coach, I like to work with your own natural eating tendencies, but, it's learning about like you've tried many different approaches in the past, what has worked for you. And I've just expressed, like when you were like eating the 2 meals a day, I thought, you know what, like for us men over 40, you over 50, um, like the one benefit of having a few more frequent meals throughout the day, just you don't need to do 6 meals a day or anything like that, is like trying to get your protein spread out a little bit more throughout the day. There may be some anabolic benefit to that. And we share,
Yeah.
we have a great conversation back and forth, and I share my reasoning why I would want maybe a change, maybe try it out. You try it out, it doesn't feel good to you. All right, we go back to what works best for you. But it is fun just kind of having that back and forth relationship, and being able to evaluate where you're at and then just start making subtle little tweaks to see how you respond to that. And
Well,
definitely
on that,
go ahead.
no, I was sorry, Scott. I was just gonna say on that point, I do agree. It just isn't as anabolic. I don't believe to have the limited meals I was having. I mean, it's just such a difference now. I can feel it. Um, and also the way that I'm eating now, I'm so much more conscious of the importance of low calorie, satiating, high volume food, and sort of working that in, and the amount of vegetables that I eat in order to sort of be able to make the most of the calorie budget. And then one thing that I have also kind of made my peace with, which I struggled with for many years, is I'm really into ancestral health, and I'm really into the concept of a kind of a reasonable paleo approach, which I learned from the great Rob Wolf, and but it just is hard to make that work in the context of the kind of caloric budgets that are necessary in order to reach certain physique goals. And so I've had to modulate and make certain compromises around that. Would it be better to eat ribeye compared to a lean tenderloin? Maybe on some level, yeah. Is it healthier to have, you know, black molasses compared to a little bit of stevia? Probably so. Should I be eating sardines every day? That's not a bad idea, but that's tough to fit in some days to your macros, so you have to kind of space things out a bit. And so I've come up with all kinds of hacks to allow me to kind of make it possible to honor both goals. And that's been a really interesting journey. But I love the way you push back also. When I bring you an idea, you don't you don't dismiss it out of hand, but you're very I just really appreciate the way you analyze the things that I bring you thoughtfully, and then you arrive at a conclusion, which may be, hey, I don't necessarily think a bunch of collagen powder is going to be the best use of your calories at this stage, and here's the evidence, and try it if you want. But so we've had a lot of those discussions, which have been beneficial to me, and I have put my ego aside because I've been sort of the village idiot on wellness at my company and in many settings where I have full of opinions and so on. But it's been a beneficial experience for me to defer to you because results are important, and you've been able to achieve those sustainably over a long time, and you do care about micronutrients. You are not just one of these people saying pure calories in, calories out, don't worry about the quality of your food. That's not your message. Your message is find a balance, and I appreciate that.
It's fantastic. But what I appreciate is you having an open mind, and I think that's a big problem within our industry. And I'd say I've probably been guilty of it in my younger days as well, having a closed mind towards what style of training would be best and nutrition practices. But I think if you go into things with an open mind, you may have certain ideas of what work best for you, but being willing to, all right, I can set aside what I think might be right, give this a try, see how my body responds, and then go from there. So that's been excellent. And the beauty of what I do, my job and everything is I'm learning just as much from my clients as you guys are learning from me. And one thing that I'm really learning a lot from you is how to start incorporating some mobility into my training. And it's been huge. I've been talking about it for a while, and I see you incorporating this into your daily lifestyle and how it's been paying off for you. And you have a busy life. Like, it's tough enough to fit in the workouts and everything else got going in, but making time for mobility as well. You've prioritized it. So how's that been working for you? How have you managed to find time to work that? And then how has it been paying off for you?
Yeah, I did go on a big mobility kick, and I'd say that it's still intact. I basically put together some of my favorite YouTube routines that I identified, and then I created a nice little flow for myself with several of these things, and I have it down to a system where I can get through it, reasonably quickly. If I want to do the whole thing, it can take me as long as 40 minutes. If I want to do an abbreviated session, it can be 10 or 20 minutes. But it does make me feel better, and it makes me feel like I have a better overall level of athleticism when I'm able to do some of these movements, which are nothing too impressive, but they're invigorating, and I just feel like it's benefiting me in my training. But I have in recent weeks started to focus a bit more on moderate intensity aerobic, cardio exercise rather, and in lieu of doing the mobility every single day, I'll do a few minutes a day, but and that I think is a better balance, because I think you have to get in about 150 minutes ideally of the moderate intensity cardio if you can, or I mean, it's obviously you can. There's a band there, but for me, I would love to be able to get in more moderate intensity cardio, and so I've sacrificed a little bit of the daily mobility practice in favor of that, and I think that's the right path for me, because when you do that moderate intensity cardio, you are also loosening your body up, and there's a mobility dimension to that as well. So there are different ways to skin the cat. So I think that's the direction I'm going in, and I'd like to maybe get in what's been called HIRT, high intensity rest training or something. It's not exactly high intensity. It's not HIT. It's more of a where you're taking more luxurious breaks, but you're getting in that intensity of 10 seconds to 30 seconds, and for me it's closer to 10 seconds. Honestly, I've got an assault bike, and that helps a lot.
Yes.
So I guess that's my
Very cool.
mobility situation.
Yeah, and that's excellent. And again, like you said, like, vanity is important to us. It is a big driver, but there is so much more to it. We do want to live our lives to the fullest. We want to live a long life, not die a longer life.
Right,
So I
right.
really like that you have this awareness of the different aspects of your health and well-being that you want to improve upon. You're doing everything you can to feel your best in all areas. Your muscle is our greatest asset, but you're realizing that we've got to be mobile, limber, and
Yeah,
move around, like function our best. And our cardiovascular endurance is incredibly important for overall health and well-being as well, like brain health and staying alert, staying focused. It's
yeah.
all these different factors playing together. So it's really just great to see how our reasons why we're doing what we're doing evolve as we discover the different things that we can incorporate into our lifestyle that make us feel better and allow us to feel at our best. Now, I'm curious, like,
Absolutely.
in your line of work, like, you also, uh, I'm hearing you get lots of compliments from others. You've been inspiring. Others are clearly, I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of others as I'm flashing videos and pictures of you up on the screen during the podcast here, seeing how lean you are, the results that you've been able to achieve, how you're building up your physique. So you're inspiring people in many ways. How has your own personal transformation, like, what have you taken from this to help inspire others, like, through your words? And I know you're writing a book as well on corporate wellness, and that's an area that you're passionate about as well. So how has your own personal experience helped with getting your message across with corporate wellness as well?
It does help, of course, to show what's possible, and a lot of colleagues have taken a look at me and they've said, okay, I'd like to try to do something along those lines. And there are a handful that have definitely made the commitment, but it is a tough audience, because executives are paid for their judgment, and they tend to have the Dunning-Kruger effect on steroids, where they sort of feel like they know everything. They overestimate their expertise in all kinds of areas because that kind of confidence and swagger actually is beneficial sometimes in the corporate world, to appear like you have all the answers. And so a lot of times people do ask me for advice, and you've heard this funny term, an ask hole, which is somebody that asks you for a lot of advice and then never takes it. And so I do have a circle of good friends who like to ask me questions, and then I don't see them implementing too much, to be honest. Um, but yeah, it can be a tough audience for that reason. But I think on balance, what executives need to pay attention to, like anybody else, are the fundamentals. You cannot expect, if you're not sleeping, if you're not getting some movement, looking for movement opportunities throughout your day, if you're not eating properly, you're just not going to be able to improve your health. And a lot of times people ask you questions that are sort of obscure, like, hey, should I be drinking lemon juice in the morning with my water? And I'm thinking to myself, well, why don't you go to bed on time and stop eating an entire box of whatever, and maybe that's the starting point. But there are people that
Right.
gravitate toward sort of these small points. They major in the minor, as I've heard somebody say. So but it's it's an important part of this process for me to try to help people when they seek it out. I've stopped sort of evangelizing because people are either ready or they're not, to hear the message. And it does take investment, and people, I think, are a little bit um, they're a little bit afraid, really, to embark on an important project around a physical transformation. Um, Stephen Pressfield wrote a book called The War of Art, and in that book he talks about how you have a resistance to great projects. And again, it's that notion that your ego is trying to protect itself and not be vulnerable, because if you fall on your face after you've made a significant investment, that's painful. And I think that's one of the reasons why some people are resistant to getting a coach, which is astonishing to me, because this is a journey. It's a little bit like gardening. It takes, you have to have an awareness of the seasons and what kind of seeds you need and how much water and fertilizer. Otherwise, you wouldn't dream of trying to garden. But people go into the gym with remarkably little knowledge and just try to start a program, and then they get frustrated, and then that's it, and they declare failure. And so you do see a lot of this attitude throughout all segments of society, including the executive ranks. So there are challenges, but it's really rewarding when a colleague actually embarks on this, and then you're able to help them, and so on. And that's the great part of the journey for me, is trying to help other people. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And I find like that the best way to learn is to help others throughout the process as well. It kind of
Yeah.
solidifies your own lifestyle. And I think it even adds a little bit of accountability too, like kind of knowing that people
True.
are looking to you for guidance. And yeah, that's outstanding, man. Dude, you just I mean, there's so much I want to dive into, like, even more details about the cutting phase and what you were feeling towards the end and the challenges that you faced, and how you're even feeling now with this whole muscle building process, this lean building phase, and the comfort levels with how far you're going to push. I mean, like we said, we talked, you're in their sweet spot here, but I know there's a lot more we could dive into. We're gonna save it for another podcast, because I know you and I will, we jive pretty well. We have a lot of great conversations through our messaging back and forth. And dude, you're another bro like me, like Aaron. We share similar values in life and outlooks, and we just want to live our best lives possible. So it's been freaking awesome talking to you here today. I'm sure you've inspired many others through our discussions here. So I can't thank you enough, my man.
Hey, thank you so much, Scott, for everything that you've done. It's been life-changing to work with you. I can say that with total sincerity. I mean, I feel so fortunate that I happened upon you, and just great appreciation to you.
I'm stoked for the next 13 months, like to see what you're able to achieve. Like now that we've got you down to the level of leanness you desire, and just taking this new little slow and steady approach to building and cutting over the next little while. It's gonna be a lot of fun to see how your body responds. The best thing is like you are an implementer. Like you give your best effort and focus. Like I never have to worry that you're slacking off in the way. I give you marching orders. You are following those orders to a T, and putting in the effort. Your consistency, your dedication, it has paid off big time for you. So I am stoked for what's to come. We're having fun, man. Like the gains may be a lot slower at this stage of the game for us when it comes to muscle, but I think the rewards are so much greater, and the changes, the density of our muscles, the appearance, like the aesthetics of our appearance it can still, there's still change is possible at this point. So I am so freaking stoked for you and what's to come, my man, especially like achieving what you did this year in this state with not state of the art equipment and all that kind of stuff, and other stresses and stuff going on. Yeah. I can't imagine when things get, when conditions are even better, but, dude, I'm so proud of you. So excited for what's to come. Thank you so much once again. And for
Thank
everyone
you.
watching the podcast, I hope you gained some valuable insights from this. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please do us a favor and smash that thumbs up button. We'd really appreciate it. If you have any questions for Mario that you would like us to address in future podcasts, drop them down below, and we'd love to answer them in an upcoming show here. If you know a fellow bro who would benefit from watching today's podcast, do me a favor, share it with them. Before you go, don't forget to download your free guide, Jacked After 40. Have yourself an amazing day. We'll catch you in the next podcast.